So, been shooting for a while and think now is the time to go pro, at least make some extra money with your photography. Let me tell you this. There is nobody waiting for you to go pro. There is a lot of very capable photographers out there who have very little work. And most people that try to make it in this area, they fail. But that does not mean that that has to be you. My dream was always to travel the world, with my camera, telling stories, taking amazing photos, doing my thing, not on an assignment, but be able to monetize off what I did in those trips. Although today I'm much closer to my goal than when I started, it is somewhat different than I thought it would be. Most of my incomes comes from teaching photography, photo tours, and other things I come up with to monetize my work. So even if my photography and my photos are my foundation of my business model today is not directly selling my photos or getting hired for shoot. I do get hired for shoot and I do sell photos, but that is a much smaller portion of my income. However, due to this pandemic we are all going through right now, I might need to adjust my business somewhat. But that's always the case. Market conditions, people interest, technology, recession, everything is constantly changing and you have to either adapt or die. When I decided to quit my day job and go full-time, go pro with my photography, I just said, bring it on. I'll shoot whatever you want me to shoot. Because even my goal at that time wasn't necessarily to shoot family portraiture and family photos and stuff like that. That was my way in. Because I realized that, spending my time traveling, seeing the world, and starting off by living on that was not realistic. And thinking back, I wouldn't have done it any different because it taught me a lot. It made me a well-rounded photographer. Even if the most visible part of my work today is landscape and travel, I find that box way too small for me. I want to make photos. I really don't care how other people categorize my photos. I try to be truthful how a photo is made, for business purposes. I don't want to lie to people, but in the end of the day, I'm just a photographer. When I started, family was my thing. That was my job. Newborn photography was huge, kids photography. Weddings were probably my biggest income, and boudoir often came with weddings. I shot architecture for a magazine, editorial, portraits. I basically did everything I needed to do to stay in the photography business. Learning the trade, creating connections, and slowly getting to the place I wanted to be. There are two questions that I think you should try to answer before you go pro in photography. The first is, why? Why do you want to go pro in photography? If it's to be rich, famous, you think it's fancy or glamorous, you're gonna be very disappointed. This is hard. It's a lot of work and you only get paid for the portion of the hours you put in. If you are in it for the love of creating, you have a chance to do this. But remember, you don't have to go pro to do that. There is no right answer here. I think it's important to think about it. So you're to be able to set goals. So why do I want to do this? Because I need to set goals to get what I want. And the second question is, are you good enough? This is a difficult question to answer, but when you look at your body of work, can you honestly say that it's top notch? If you look up other working pros, not just anyone with a website, man or a woman who is working and getting paid, does your portfolio match up? By this, I'm not saying you need to be the best in the world. You don't. But you need to be good enough. Otherwise, you might ruin a big day for some couple getting married, and you could damage the chances you might have in the future when you get better. Because the thing is, it is not hard to create something amazing when you're doing it for yourself. With no pressure, nobody's telling you what they want. On a wedding shoot, for example, you might get half an hour to produce amazing wedding photos. And there are 300 people waiting. This is real pressure, and you need to know if you can handle that. But here are the 5 things I think you should know if you want to go pro in photography. And the first is be social. Tell everybody what you do. And I mean everybody. Everybody you meet might be a potential client or know somebody who needs a photographer. And I'm not just talking about social media. I'm talking in the real world. You need to go out and be social. Here's an example. A few years ago, I was with my wife. We were out walking the dog, and we went in this open area. Nobody there except this one guy who was also walking his dog. We could let the dogs run free, that kind of a place. And the dogs put us in. We connected through the other guy with the dog. We started talking, and to make a long story short, that ended up in tens of thousands of dollars worth of work, both in Iceland and in Norway. If I would have been like just a guy walking his dog and don't mind me, I wouldn't have gotten that work. And honestly, I can honestly tell you, most of my work, especially early on, came like this. I was just talking to people, I introduced myself, started some conversation, and I ended up getting some work. But one word of caution: if you're new in the photography business, be honest about your skill level. If you're new, say it, and price accordingly. If you're up to anything, you don't have to say anything. Number 2, you need a website and you need some Facebook. You need a website, especially a website to showcase your work for your portfolio. So when you talk to people, you can point them where they can see your stuff. But website by itself doesn't do anything. If you make a website and just wait, nobody will contact you. Absolutely nobody. It does not happen. For that to happen, you need to earn your stripes. You need to become a little bigger than a beginner. So this is just a tool you use to back up number 1. When you go out, you're social, you have a business card. You hand to the person and say, feel free to contact if you are ever in need of a photographer. And on that note, number 3, own your zip code. Before you conquer the world, conquer your zip code. Make everybody in your zip code know about you. You do that with, you can actually use Facebook for that, for targeted ads, but that's not enough. You have to go out there. You go to schools, you go to sport clubs, to churches, wherever it is, in flyers, you hang up flyers in the supermarket. You just do what you have to do to make everyone in your zip code know you exist. And number 4, word of mouth. Word of mouth is gold. It is probably the best chance for you as a new photographer to attract new customers. To have the few you had come to you again and recommend you. And for them to do that, you have to act like you care. You have to be nice. You have to do good work, and you have to be flexible with people. You need to be flexible because everybody has his own quirks, and you need to be able to work with that, not against that. And if you do that, those people might actually recommend you to somebody they know. And number 5, you have to go out and look for projects. Find out what people need and offer that to them. Offer them solutions. For example, companies, small companies especially, they all seem to struggle. They all have a website, but they all seem to struggle with quality headshots of their staff. They're just taking it with the phone. They don't have quality headshots. So one idea would be to talk to the management, set up shop outside. Bring it to them. So each staff member needs like 15 minutes with you. That is much more valuable for the company than have to sending the person out to get his photo taken. That will take 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Instead, you might come there and you might shoot 20, 30, 40 people in a day or something, half a day. It depends on you a little bit. And also with company, for example, a lot of companies are trying to make Instagram accounts work, but they always need photos for that. So, strike a deal with a company where you offer them a photo a day, 3 photos a week. That might be a monthly subscription. You might get paid every month. You can do a lot of stuff like that. You just have to think about the customer. What does he need? And then give it to him, then offer it to him. Obviously, there is much more in making it as a photographer than these 5 things. But I will tell you that I find these things very often overlooked by people. Most people are looking for easier solution. Facebook posts, only Facebook posts, or Instagram, and I'll say to you, it doesn't work. You need to go out. You need to be social in the real world, and also do that, but also go out and meet people. And then they say, I say it never works like this. And then they say, oh no, I saw this guy. He went from 0 to hero in 3 months, and now he's like a millionaire. And I'm like, yeah, but every once in a while somebody wins the lottery. You're not gonna base your future on that, are you? Not this either. You have to work for it. And if you do, if you put in the hours and the grind and the months of very, very little income, you might actually make it. And I hope you do. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.